Right, good morning everyone. I am in the beautiful island of Gran Canaria. So, just got up, feeling pretty tired because last night I stayed up. I wanted to watch Dana White Contender Series because one of my former students at AVT, Louis Lee Scott, was fighting for a UFC contract. So, yeah, we'll get to that shortly. But I wanted to talk about the other fighters from Yorkshire first, who sort of paved the way in the UFC. So the first ever fighter from Yorkshire to get signed to the UFC was Mr. Neil Wayne. So Neil Wayne actually got signed to the UFC in 2008. So in 2008 is when I made my professional debut. So I was lucky enough to be in the same gym at Clay Lane where Wayne was training, and he fought Shane Carwin. I think Shane Carwin was probably sort of 7-8-0 at that point. I think Wayne was about 5-0, but Carwin was on the rise at that time, and Wayne ended up getting stopped, but I think he broke Carwin's jaw with an overhand right, or broke his nose with an overhand right. I remember the shot, and then ended up getting taken down and got hit with some ground and pound, and the referee stopped him. So that was the first ever UFC fight for a Yorkshireman. It was a real shame that was his only fight in the UFC. He never fought again in the UFC. Went on to continued fighting, and definitely one of the best sort of heavyweights around that era. Just didn't get the time to really show it in the UFC. Like I say, he just had that one fight, and the UFC are ruthless bastards. Fed him to Carwin and then didn't give him another shot. So would have loved to have seen him add more fights in the UFC, get on a bit of a roll. But 2008, so back in the day. And then nobody from Yorkshire then fought in the UFC until 2014. So 2014, I was very fortunate to get signed to the UFC. And so 6 years after Wayne, and I got my shot. So my plan was to be the first Yorkshireman to win in the UFC. Unfortunately, that didn't go to plan. I lost the decision. I fought in London at the O2. I fought a tough Brazilian. We kind of cancelled each other out a little bit with the grappling and stuff. I think I pushed the pace. I was looking for the finish, but he made it very awkward, and I lost a decision in my debut. But I put on a good fight, and luckily they offered me another fight. I was on when you sign to the UFC, you usually sign a 4-fight contract, but the contract is on their terms, as with any organisation. So even though it was a 4-fight contract, that they don't have to honour those 4 fights. They can basically cut you whenever they feel like it. So like I say, ruthless. So I got another fight. Unfortunately, at this time, my dad had been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he didn't have long left to live. But he got to see me fight in the UFC in London, and then fortunately he died during the training camp for the next fight, where I fought in China. I fought on the Bisping Kungley undercard, and again I had a very close fight, lost the decision. In all honesty, I was underprepared for that fight, just not trained properly. Obviously, my dad dying in the middle of my fight camp and stuff, and it wasn't ideal. But the UFC was aware of the situation. They sent flowers to the funeral and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I needed time, really, which I didn't think I had. I thought if I put the UFC on hold, I'm just going to get cut. So so I did fight, like I say, lost another decision, so I was 0-2 in the UFC. Yeah, not ideal timing. And then I got flown out, so they said, do you want to come to Sweden? And we'll give you ringside tickets to the show in Sweden. Now, this is where the third guy comes in, Mr. Scott Askham. So Scott Askham is from Hemsworth, so another Yorkshire man. Hemsworth is like Wakefield postcode. So, but I think they did announce him as being from Doncaster because he'd fought locally on, like, you know, the cage steel shows and stuff. And because he's close enough to Donny, they'd build him as Doncaster. So yeah, but yeah, Hemsworth. So really, he's more of a Wakefield. Like I say, it's a Wakefield postcode. So, but Doncaster can claim it as well. So, but yeah, I flew to Sweden, and Scott was making his debut in Sweden. So he landed a beauty front kick, split his opponent's gum shield. The gum shield came out, but he unfortunately lost the decision in his debut. And it was while I was sat there in the crowd that I got an email. This is like, yeah, they're just ruthless. I got an email saying, yeah, unfortunately you've been released from the UFC. My manager at the time said, listen, they're not going to release you. Your dad's just died. You've had a close fight. They'd actually sacked the judges who were on that event because they made loads of judging errors. So they'd sacked the judges. So all these things go in your favour. You know, some people argued that I'd won the fight, but it was a shitty fight anyway. But yeah, so I got cut the day Scott Askham made his debut. So yeah, Scott ended up in the UFC. He did get some nice wins. Scott was the first Yorkshire man to win in the UFC. He got 2 sort of viral knockouts. So he got 2 wins in the UFC. And then left the UFC, went on to do great things, and I had the pleasure of cornering him and helping him train when he became KSW World Champion. So yeah, he went on to do great things outside the UFC. And then 2016, we had Mark Jacasey. So Jacasey was born in the Republic of Congo, but he ended up in Doncaster of all places. So all roads kind of lead to Doncaster at this point. So you've got Wayne, Doncaster, me, Doncaster, Scott Askham, Hemsworth, but close enough to Doncaster, and now Mark Jacasey, Doncaster as well. Obviously born in the Congo, but he moved to Doncaster when he was a young man. Had some viral knockouts on like the Bama show, and then got signed, and yeah, did really well. And Mark ended up amassing 8 wins in the UFC, and again, I was very fortunate to be involved in 3 of his fights. 2 of those wins, 2 of one was in the corner of Mark. So yeah, he represented AVT, and yeah, did really well. Again, another Yorkshireman will claim him, even though he's born in the Congo, but he's yeah, still lives in Doncaster now. So, and he's got his own gym there. And Scott Askham has just opened a gym as well in his hometown. So, you know, we're all, obviously I've run a gym since I was 18, so we're all yeah, still heavily involved. Neil Wayne's still coaching different places, involved in the bare knuckle scene as well. Yeah, so again, Mark, you know, the most successful Yorkshire man in the UFC, with, you know, putting together 8 wins. He's signed to PFL now, so hopefully he'll be fighting again soon. So yeah, and then we had a close call with Adam Bramold. So one of my fighters, he got called up on the Contender Series, and unfortunately he didn't get the win, but we were hoping to have him back there. They said go away. They did like him. They said go away, get a win, which he has done. So we was hoping for a call on this series, but we didn't get it. We're still going to stay ready though. He got some fight news coming soon, some local fight news. But yeah, so got to Contender Series, but didn't get that contract. Another guy from Yorkshire in a similar kind of position was Kiru Singh, another one of my former students. He was on the road to the UFC, which was like, it was over in Asia, like a tournament format. So he did actually fight on a UFC fight night card. So yeah, but he didn't get signed to the UFC, you know, in terms of he didn't win a contract or whatever. So he fought in the finals, he lost in the finals, so he didn't win the contract, but he did fight on a UFC fight night. So can we count that as a Yorkshire man in the UFC? Kiru is from Huddersfield, and I believe he's fighting soon as well. And then let's get on to last night. So Louis Lee Scott, I met Louis in 2011 when I formed AVT. Louis came across, he was just a little boy then, and he started training with me. But even when he started training with me, he'd already had 50 fights in Muay Thai. So he was very, very good. He trained at the Golden Team gym, which was a very good, which still is a good gym in Leeds. They do more into pro boxing now, but there was a very good Muay Thai gym. And yeah, so he came to me. So he was already, even though he was a kid, he was a very good, confident striker. I remember cornering him when he was 15. He was also working with Liam Harrison, and me and Liam cornered him in Leeds, and we had to lie about his age. We had to say he was 18 when he was only, I think, 15 or 16, and he knocked the guy out with a spinning back kick to the body, like absolutely devastating. And then I think the fight after that, he knocked the guy out with a head kick. So he had huge power and potential, even though he was only 15 years old. So yeah, that's how Louis came to me. And then yeah, we got him into MMA. I think a few years of training MMA first. Like I say, striking was good, but he had zero grappling. So a few years of training, then he started fighting amateur, and did really well as an amateur. Lots of fights. I love my amateur guys to have lots of fights. So we had lots of fights. He did the IMAF Worlds. He did the IMAF Europeans. So yeah, and he medalled at the IMAFs. Again, amassed a lot of amateur fights before turning pro. So yeah, I was lucky enough to work with him for quite a few years, probably up till I think it was lockdown. That's when things kind of changed, and things changed for me as well. So we hit lockdown, you know, end of 2019 coming into 2020. And yeah, obviously a lot of gyms were shut. We were still opening and doing sessions, but it was very sporadic and hard to get like proper training in. We had police storming in the gym and all kinds of shit like that. But yeah, things kind of changed for everybody really. It was good in a way, because it gave everybody a chance to kind of reflect on their life and think about like what we're really doing, because everyone's now, I mean, most people were getting, you know, grants and stuff like that, and you know, getting to sit at home, spend more time with family. So my gym is in Leeds, but my family and my home is in Doncaster, so I was spending a lot more time at home in Doncaster, and it was lovely weather in lockdown as well, wasn't it? Best times ever. So despite the COVID scamdemic, but anyway, so yeah, I was spending a lot more time in Doncaster, and yeah, things kind of changed for me then as well, because I'd spent all my life in the gym. I'd go to the gym in the morning, I'd teach class, I'd stay in the gym, teach privates, you know, and then I'd teach on a night, and then I'd come home, and it was just yeah, it was a long hard slog, and I'd just dedicated so much of my life and time to it. And then spending time at home, you know, I've got a little boy, spending time with him and spending time with my wife and stuff, I was like, because we got married just before, we got married, went on our honeymoon, came back from Thailand, and then the lockdown hit. So I probably when I got back from Thailand, I actually had pneumonia, so I probably brought back some kind of weird strain from Asia. But yeah, that was lockdown, and like I say, people, you know, circumstances change for people. So I decided I'm going to spend less time in the gym, more time, you know, at home in Doncaster. And yeah, I got Jay Furness, who was one of my fighters, but always helped me out coaching. I made him the head coach of the gym, and kind of changed things up a bit. I brought Tom Crosby in, another one of my fighters, put him in charge of the juniors and stuff. So which the junior team are really smashing it now. They're like the next, the next crop of fighters coming through. And then we had lots of fighters moving gyms, and some fighters just stopped and just like, lockdown was kind of the end for them. They just, when you're not in that routine of training and fighting all the time, sometimes that can be it for you. So we had some fighters leave, some fighters go to different gyms, some fighters open their own gyms. It was a big change in time. So Louis decided to make the move over to Manchester, to live in Manchester. Went over to Carl Prince. So Carl had been sort of coming over to AVT and bringing his guys over, and we had like a good relationship with them. So, and at the time Louis was like, for his sort of weight class in the gym, he was like the top dog sort of thing. So sometimes when you're in that position, you've got to remove yourself and chuck yourself in the shark tank, so to speak. So he made the decision to live in Manchester, training at Manchester Top Team, which is arguably like the best sort of MMA team right now in the UK. So it was very sad to see him go. I would have loved to have sort of been involved in this journey into the UFC for him. It's kind of when I was watching it last night, it was hard, seeing somebody that I'd spent so much time with, fighting in the UFC. It's like seeing your missus run off with another dude. But at the same time, I was very happy for him. I didn't really sleep much last night because I was so amped up from the fight. So he missed weight, which was a bit of not a good start for him, but it was only half a pound. He said he got sick during the weight cut, and then so he was going into the fight already at a disadvantage, because usually if you miss weight you ain't gonna get a contract, but he managed to put on an absolute blinding performance. I thought he was going to get the stoppage early on, but it came in the third round. The other guy was firing a lot of leg locks at him. He was like a tall striker that went for leg locks, but he'd been training with Ryan Hall, who's got that kind of style as well. So we made for a good opponent. He was a tough guy, but Louis got the job done, got him out of there in the third round, and he showed a lot. He showed a lot of his game. He showed a lot of his like grappling defense and stuff as well. So Dana was very impressed and said, despite the mishap with the weight, he's still going to sign him. So Louis Lee Scott becomes the next Yorkshire man to get a UFC contract. And like I say, it's like each guy that's been signed, it seemed to go on to do better each time. So there was Wayne, they only gave him that one fight, which was a shame. I had the 2 fights. Then Scott Askham comes in, he gets the 2 viral knockouts. Then Mark comes in, he strings together 8 wins in total. So maybe now it's time for Louis to take it to the next level and get up there for title contention at bantamweight, which would be really, really good to see. So really buzzing to see him get signed to the UFC. It was only a matter of time. I think he's 10-0 now. So all the best to him. Congratulations to Carl Prince, all the team at Manchester Top Team, and I look forward to watching his journey in the UFC. And there we go. So Louis is the first guy from Leeds to get a contract. Technically, the other 4 guys from Yorkshire who've been in the UFC, unless we count Kiru, we're all from Doncaster. Kiru fought on a fight night, he's from Huddersfield, so and Leeds, obviously with the football kind of fans and stuff behind him as well. I think he's gonna like, look at Josh Warrington. I think Louis is gonna sort of follow suit with that, and he's gonna end up with like a big crew following him all over the world, representing Leeds, even though he's training in Manchester, the little fucker. But anyway, really happy for him, and glad he got the win, glad he got the contract. So up the Yorkshire, And yeah, I'm a big sort of Yorkshire fan. I love being from Yorkshire. I love Yorkshire. Like to see Yorkshire people do well. So yeah, onwards and upwards. For us, again, we've got Adam Bramhold. We are ready. Contender Series runs into October, so if anything happens, you know, Bramhold will be ready for that, and I'm hoping that Bramhold can be the next Yorkshire fighter that gets a UFC contract. But we shall see. Now it's time for me to have a walk around here and enjoy my holiday. So I will see you all very soon.